Okay, the 20 things I want to recommend that you read. It's not in any way complete because a lot of comic books and magazines that I like to read aren't here with me, so I won't be able to show you, but here goes. A Wrinkle in Time. First year high school at UPIS. My English teacher, who passed away now, Professor Gaceta, showed us the Caldecott and Newbery Awards, winning books, award-winning books, and this is my favorite of all time. It's gonna be a movie now. Whenever I see the trailer, I think there's nothing about this trailer that reminds me of this book. So please try and read the book. When I was 9, my father's cousins gave me this book and loved it. I loved it. The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis. So one of my favorites for all time. After that, I read everything else in the series. There's about 7 or 8 in the series, but this one is the first one and it's my favorite. Hotel du Lac by Anita Brookner. This is from, I don't remember when this was from, but when I was in high school, a college friend of mine would recommend her to me. And I think this is pretty great. It's about the woman vacationing alone in this hotel. Really, it's a really good, slow, quiet read for just being alone. This one, Charms for the Easy Life by Kaye Gibbons, for the ladies out there as well, because it's about 3 generations of, I guess, a Midwestern family in the U.S. The grandmother was a doctor, and she became one as well in the end. But it's how they dealt with their lives and men in general in education, and it's a fun book to read. Okay, for my grunge years, Francesca Block, Dangerous Angels, which actually it's just a collection, but she's with Weetsy Bat. It's in here. It's a pretty good book about LA and teenagers and witches, and it's very maybe riot girl stuff. So I recommend that. Ursula Guin, Left Hand of Darkness. She passed away about a couple of weeks ago, and when I read this, I remember it really blew my mind when I got to the end. It's sci-fi. It's got some gender stuff in it as well, and politics, and very compelling stuff, and mind-blowing, really. Atmospheric, literary, college kids in secret societies, and kind of like Dead Poet Society with a mystery, with a murder arc. Okay, ito. Probably my favorite writer of all time, top 3, is William Gibson. This is Neuromancer. It's the first book of his that I read. I read it kind of late also. It's from the 90s already. As you will probably find out if you Google him, he is the inventor of cyberpunk. It reads like a movie. It's very action-packed, very exciting, wonderful book. My favorite, absolute favorite. And then he came out, after doing a series of cyberpunk novels, he suddenly came around with pattern recognition in the late 90s or early 2000s. More modern, has to do with social media and branding. But it's still medyo sci-fi, still medyo futuristic. Pero mas ano na siya, mas here and now. And it's got streetwear in it. And it's very cool. I love Case Pollard, the bida in the book. So I really highly recommend this also. Pattern Recognition, William Gibson, and Neuromancer if you haven't read it yet. More girl stuff. The Girl's Guide to Hunting and Fishing, because it's very funny. First person character in the book is very, very funny, very deprecative, very okay siya. Ernest Hemingway. I only started reading, I guess, within the last 5 years. This is a Movable Feast. It's not one of his. It's more of an autobiography. It's a beautiful book. I loved it. It's like a travelogue in Paris and with the people around him at the time, and that's why I started reading his fiction, because of the stuff in his book. It's a turning point in my life when I realized that some people, you have to read them for the words. You have to read them for the way they're written. I know it's kind of late. I would always just go for the story and what would happen and who the characters were, but here it's the way he put sentences together is just incredible. And that's then you notice, you go back and start looking at your other writers that you like, and then that's when you start noticing it. That's how I started noticing it with Ernest Hemingway. But if you want to start, this is something light and fun to read. Kitchen, Banana Yoshimoto, yes. Love, Death, Morning. It's a very quiet book. Please just read it. Banana Yoshimoto, Kitchen. I read a lot of cookbooks. In fact, I learned cooking from my mom's set of The Good Cook. That's a Time Life set. And then we used to have it around the house, and I'd read everything. And that's how I realized, oh, I want to taste that, I want to taste this. So I'd end up just making them just to find out how it tastes, because I like eating as well. When Nigella Lawson came out with How to Eat, I loved it right away, because in my mind, she kind of like a Filipina, because she likes combining sweet and salty things in her mouth, and she's very casual about cooking. It's like she's just in the kitchen to put things together that she likes to eat. So if you're going to read a cookbook or start, How to Eat Nigella, if you haven't read this yet, it's pretty good. And then the guy that she was married to for a while, but I think they fought and there was some public strangulation and stuff like that. My name is Charles Sachi and I am an artaholic. It's not really about the art, but I like the way he approaches things. He answers a lot of questions about his collection, about advertising, and about his life in general. He really doesn't he doesn't really care about much, and he voices out his opinion. And I know he's rich enough to not really care about what anybody else says, but I appreciate it. So even if he's a little controversial person, I enjoy the book. Elements of Style, Strunk, White, and Coleman. Coleman this is actually a Strunk and White book. It's grammar basically, but it's written so well in such a fun style and makes me feel so clean when I read it. And the Coleman illustrations on this book are great as well. There. So kahit lesson siya, you will enjoy it, I promise. My favorite superhero actually is Elektra. This is the Frank Miller Sienkewickz collection. Aside from, I like Batman and Sandman and Doom Patrol and stuff like that. So this is what I have here with me right now, so I recommend it if you haven't read it. And she's my favorite because who goes around in a red tanga killing people, right? Magazines, I also read a lot about them. It's one of my favorites, Apartamento. It's about design, mostly interior design, but not quite all of it like that. It's pretty cool. Nice to look at. It's quirky and, I don't know, pretty civilized and enlightened at the same time, so it's pretty cool. This I'm going to try to read, haven't gotten around to it yet. Mythologies. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I should have to say that I picked this up because I saw si Army, Updharma, recommending it in one of her posts. And I thought that was interesting. So there, I still have to finish it, Arms, but I'm reading it because of you. Patti Smith, I never realized would be, aside from the musician and songwriter that she is and the woman that she is, I love this book. I'm trying not to finish it, but I'm almost done. I just keep it by my bed because it's like a hug in a book. It's about her life in New York and her travels as well after the death of her husband and the pictures she takes, and it's very interesting as well. You discover all these weird places, and she's a big Murakami fan. She talks about books. She's a big TV fan. She watches a lot of Law and Order. So it's kind of like being in a hotel room alone. And it's fun in a fun way. This is it. Read it. M Train, Patti Smith. Up until a few years ago, I used to read this book once a year. But I don't know why. It just grounds me. I like the characters, Franny and Zooey. J.D. Salinger's my favorite. The Glass Family is my favorite. And it also reminds me of one of my favorite movies, Royal Tenenbaums. I saw that after I was into this, so if you haven't tried it yet, please read it. That's my 20 books that you might want to check out.